Welcome to Amy Learns to Cook. On the show today, we're going to do a continuation of my stand mixer challenge, and today we're looking at the Cheftronic's 5.5 quart stand mixer. This stand mixer has a lot of neat features, and it is a really nice bargain price that makes it maybe an option if you're thinking about getting a stand mixer. So join me as we do a product test and review of the Cheftronic's 5.5 quart stand mixer. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank Cheftronic for sending me this stand mixer so we can take a look at it. In terms of the overall look and feel of the stand mixer, number one, I love the color. The color is a very bright, vibrant red, and it's just outstanding. I just love it. So it comes with your standard accessories. It has a flat paddle, it has a scraper paddle, it has a whip, and it has a dough hook. One of the things I really like about it is it has the fan in the back. One of the things we found when we did the stand mixers that were, more reasonably priced than your upper end KitchenAids is a lot of them put the fan in the front. So when you're putting flour in, it like blows the flour into the front and into the motor. What's great about the Cheftronics is the air intake is here in the back, so you don't have the issue of flour going into the motor. I really like that feature. I also like that it's really a basic mixer. So if you're trying to find something that just does cookies and cake batters and meringues and whipped creams and the basic things that you want for a stand mixer, this stand mixer is a really good price. It's about $149. It's significantly less than your artisan stand mixers that are $350, $450. So what you get with this mixer is more robust machine that's larger, but it's still in that price range that the average cook can afford. If you're a beginning cook, if you want a mixer, I thought this would be great for our RV or our caravan, right? We love to cook outdoors, and we could hook this up in our RV trailer when we go camping, and we can make fresh homemade bread out on the campsite, right? I just can't wait for that. It has your standard dial here. It does have a pulse feature, which I think is pretty nice, and you just tilt the head up just like every other mixer. One thing I did notice is the tilt head is a little bit clunky, so you really have to give it some juice and close it down. But other than that, I think it's a stylish mixer. You can't go wrong, and it's got a really nice rich color to it. The Hamilton Beach does have a red, but it's not like this candy apple, metallic looking, hot Corvette looking red, and I really like this better than that. One thing I noticed too is this mixer is all curves. That means when you need to clean this mixer, it's a lot easier to clean. What you have here is a lot of just easy curves for your wiping down. You don't have a lot of weird spots where stuff can get stuck. It's just, I really like, to make sure my small appliances are nice and clean, and this is, the cleanability on this is just excellent. So I would say for a stand mixer that gets you away from having to use a hand mixer or doing it by hand, this is a really nicely priced mixer that has a lot of nice features. The only drawback is it's a little clunky on the head, and that's pretty much it. So I give it an A-. Our first test is the whip. So we're going to make some homemade whipped cream. We put this in the refrigerator so it's nice and cold and chilled, and the bowl. You always want to do that when you're making whipped cream. So we're going to go ahead and tilt the head up. We're going to put our whip on there. And what I'm going to put in here is I have 1 pint or 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. We're going to go ahead and put that on there. We're going to put the mixer pretty high, and we're going to beat it to soft peaks, and then we're going to put the sugar in. It looks like we have soft peaks that fast. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in a 1/4 cup of confectioner's or powdered sugar. We're going to put in some vanilla. You want to get real pure vanilla, a good brand. We're going to put about a teaspoon and then some. We're going to lower this down and we're going to finish it off. And I put a lot of vanilla in it, so it sort of discolored it. We have some very beautiful whipped cream. I give it an A.
I concur with that message.
Next up, we're going to be using the paddle attachment, and I'm going to use the Flex Edge beater because we are going to be making some peanut butter cookies, and I want to be, because we're creaming butter and sugar, I want to be able to scrape it. But you can use the regular beater if you want. So we got our paddle in here. So we got our butter in the bowl, and I'm going to go ahead and put our sugars in here. I got regular white sugar, and I have some brown sugar. And we're going to go ahead and lower this down. And we're going to do a little creaming. A little bit of jumping on the head. One of the things I can tell you is look how clean the edge of the bowl is. That is really, really nice. It's doing a really great job on that. The suction cups are keeping it down. It is bouncing a little bit, but it's doing a really good job on the creaming. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in some peanut butter. We are making peanut butter cookies. You can use creamy or crunchy. This just happens to be creamy because Eric, he's got this thing for peanut butter sandwiches. And he always buys the creamy, so I didn't go out and buy a whole nother jar. I'm just using what he had. Good. And we're going to put in our eggs. It looks like we just have a little right here that we can knock down. Other than that, it looks like it's doing a really nice job. So I'm real quick gonna just whisk our dry ingredients together. You can sift them, but I'm just gonna whisk them. So I have our flour, I have a little baking soda, I have some salt, and I have some baking powder. And I'm just gonna give it a little simulated sifting in this bowl. And we're going to go ahead and add our dry ingredients. Mixer's jumping a little bit, but it's incorporating it really, really quickly. One of the things is it has a little pulse button, so when you hit it like this, you get a little quick, woo! So just be careful. So let's see what we got here. It looks good. Let me knock it down real quick. That incorporated it super, super fast. And we're getting nice scraping action. Look at that. It's doing a fantastic job. And it incorporated it really good. And this is a really thick batter. I would say it did a fantastic job. Everything's nicely incorporated. It scraped the sides really nicely. There was a little jump on the mixer head, and I keep seeing that with tilt head mixers. But if you have a situation where you want to keep your mixer on the back counter and you can't have one of those really high mixers, you know, a tilt head is an option. And it wasn't horrible, but it did bounce around a little bit. So I pretty much give it an A-. So it's time to make some bread dough. And we have our dough hook here. So we're going to go ahead and lift our mixer head. We're going to put our dough hook on. A little tough to do this backwards. So we're going to put in our water. And I have a little bit of warm water. I'm going to put in the yeast. And I put in the sugar. And I'm using instant yeast so we don't really have to proof this. Just stir it up a little bit. So I have a couple tablespoons of butter. We're going to put that in. That's going to make it delicious, right? This is a really nice basic white bread. It's the same recipe we use for the other tests on stand mixers. I wanted to make sure that we use the same exact thing. So what I have here is 4 cups of flour. I'm going to put in some non-fat dry milk. And we're going to go ahead and start this baby up. And you want to keep it on a low speed. You never want to run a mixer doing bread on high speed, because any mixer you will burn up. So we're going to go ahead and add about half of this, and then we're going to add our salt. Put our salt in. And you could use the splatter screen, the splatter guard, to keep it from flying in your face, but I'm doing it on such a low speed that I really don't need it. And we're just going to watch and see how the mixer performs. So we have a little bit of movement on the mixer head, but it seems to be kneading pretty well. So I'm just going to give it a little splash of flour. I think I have the dough a little hydrated, a little too much. We're going to knead it on the board a little bit, and we'll see what kind of dough ball we have. Okay, so let's take this out on the board and see what we have. This is a really nice bread dough recipe. It makes a really delicious loaf of bread. And it is a little bit of a stiff dough, so it'll really work a mixer. But I think this is really nice. It's really nicely kneaded. I got a little bit of a window pane here. See how that stretches? That's the gluten. And we actually do have some gluten development here. So, yeah. You know, I think it made a really nice ball of dough. It does have kind of the same challenges as most tilt head mixers in that the head moves around a little bit, but I think it did a fairly decent job. We got to the result, and you know, I think it's pretty comparable to most tilt heads. So I'll give it a B. So for my final analysis, we have looked at a lot of different kinds of stand mixers. We've looked at stand mixers that were $30 in the dash go. We've looked at mixers that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And when you make a decision about what stand mixer you want to buy, you really just have to look at what are you going to use it for. If you're a new cook, if you plan to do basic batters, you don't necessarily need a $400 or $500 mixer. A mixer that is more popularly priced could be an option for you. In terms of the overall look and feel, I love the color of it. I think it's a little hot rod, right? It has a lot of nice basic features, and it comes with the flex paddle, which is really great. In terms of doing whipped cream, it did an outstanding job. It whipped it up really fast. It was delicious. Eric had a face full of whipped cream like in 2 seconds flat. It did a really good job. In terms of doing the cookies, it did a great job too. The flex paddle really moved that stuff around, scraped the bowl. I only had to scrape it down once or twice. Did get a little bit of rattling on the head. That is what you get with a tilt head mixer. I mean, that's just a reality. The question is, does that grinding on the head become too much where you think it would damage the mixer over a short period of time? I think it did okay. It did about the same as all other stand mixers, so I wouldn't say that it would be any different no matter, you know, what ones you got. Naturally, the really lower end ones that we tested really had big problems, especially because they weren't planetary. But this mixer was in line with the Hamilton Beach and pretty much was in line with some of the KitchenAids we looked at. In terms of bread dough, it made a really nice dough. I wouldn't say that it is a mixer that you want to make bread every single day, loaf after loaf. I wouldn't do it in this kind of mixer. But for the occasional bread maker, if you want to make bread once a week, you want to make a pizza dough on the weekend, you know, I think it would be fine for that. Yeah, it does work the head a little bit, but this is a pretty robust machine. I think it's got a lot of power, and it handled it power-wise. We just had a little bit of shaking there, which is typical of a tilt head mixer. So my opinion of the Cheftronic stand mixer, I think it's a really good mixer, particularly for the price. It might be something that you want to take a look at. If you're interested, I'll put a link to this mixer down in the description to the Amazon page. You can take a look at it in your decision-making process if you're going to buy a stand mixer. Once again, I just want to say thank you very much to Cheftronic for sending me this mixer. I really love testing it. There's a lot of great things that I think this mixer could offer in someone's kitchen, and I just had a really fantastic time, and I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please subscribe below and leave me a comment and a like, and visit my website at amylearnstocook.com. I'm also on Twitter and Pinterest at Amy Learns to Cook.